Pippen has finally admitted how mad he is at Michael Jordan. The fact that The Last Dance was released early was the only good thing about the pandemic shutdown, but Pippen looked awful. They highlighted when he quit on the team in 1994. MJ literally used the word selfish, talking about Pippen not having surgery before the season. This video explains what Scottie Pippen finally said about his feelings on The Last Dance and if he's right to be upset. Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops. Hit subscribe and notification bells. Trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by January 1st. And something that really helped with subscribers was The Last Dance, because on this channel, every day after The Last Dance aired on ESPN, we would put out a review of the night before. So go check that out in the playlist linked above. So finally though, like 8 months later, Scottie Pippen is getting honest. And I say finally because right after night one of The Last Dance, it was reported Pippen was, quote, beyond livid. That he was, quote, so mad at Michael and how he was portrayed, called selfish, called this, called that, that he's furious he even participated and he didn't realize what he was getting himself into. Other reports said teammates of theirs thought Scottie got a raw deal. They were furious. But here's the thing, Pippen wouldn't admit it at first. He went on record and said he wasn't upset. Multiple times the Hall of Famer downplayed being mad at all. He said, why would I be upset at something that happened 30 years ago? Because it wasn't a good look. The documentary harped on Pippen's complaints about his low contract. Jordan said Scottie was wrong to delay his surgery in 1997 because it meant he'd be out during the season to enjoy his summer. They talked about the migraine game that cost the Bulls, the time he refused to go in a playoff game because the play wasn't drawn up for him. Basically, Scottie came off as a total diva for most of The Last Dance. So finally, this week, Scottie Pippen came out and told the truth to a British newspaper. He said, quote, I don't think it was that accurate in terms of really defining what was accomplished in one of the greatest eras of basketball, but also by two of the greatest players. And one could even put that aside and say the greatest team of all time. I didn't think those things stood out in the documentary. I thought it was more about Michael trying to uplift himself and to be glorified. I think it also backfired to some degree in that people got a chance to see what kind of personality Michael had. I told him I wasn't too pleased with it. He accepted it. He said, hey, you're right. That was pretty much it. So the reports were true. Scottie was pissed at Michael and even confronted him. But you know what? I don't feel bad for Scottie Pippen at all. First off, the film glorified MJ. Yeah, it was co-produced by Jordan's company, Jump 23, and Michael had the call on the final cut. We all knew there wasn't going to be anything really bad for MJ in this film. It was basically Jordan's life according to Jordan. At that point in the pandemic, we just wanted to be entertained. It obviously wasn't going to be an unbiased look at Michael Jordan. Apparently, Scottie Pippen was the only one who didn't get that. But even still, I understand why Scottie would be upset. I mean, he did look bad, but unlike his teammates, I don't think he got a raw deal. He is the one who said those things at the end of the day. When Scottie didn't like his contract, he demanded a trade multiple times and made things uncomfortable. He chose not to have that surgery, and yes, it was selfish. The worst thing though was that play in 1994. Phil Jackson drew it up for Tony Kukoc, not Scottie, with 1.8 seconds left to go. Scottie's ego was so hurt, he refused to go in the game. Steve Kerr was shocked, Phil Jackson was shocked, and it was a big stain on his legacy. But honestly, we get it. Like, we can forgive him for that because he had so many great moments. I mean, at the time, he was still in his 20s, he's young. It was emotional spur of the moment, right? But then Scottie doubled down and said this 26 years later.
Wish it never happened, but if I had a chance to do it over again, I probably wouldn't change it.
That was one of the most memorable parts of the documentary, and it made Pippen look worse than any other moment. And that's not the fault of Michael Jordan or the filmmakers. Nobody tricked Pippen into doubling down on the most selfish moment of his career. He just did it himself. But back to Pippen actually telling MJ he wasn't pleased with The Last Dance. Does anyone actually think that MJ regrets putting all that stuff in there? I mean, according to Scottie, Jordan told him, yeah, you're right. It was unfair and it didn't portray us in the right way. Yeah, right. He was probably just telling Pippen what he wanted to hear. At the end of the day, Jordan felt disrespected by some of the things Scottie did, and he still holds that grudge. One of the best things in the documentary was how honest MJ was about his rivalries. Whenever someone disrespected him, he made them pay, and it was clear Jordan still hates some of those people today. And I actually disagree with Scottie Pippen. I don't think it backfired on Jordan, showing us all what his personality is. I think it grew his legend even more. I mean, without Jordan making the film, we wouldn't have gotten all those awesome, honest moments. The movie was about Michael by Michael, and plenty of other teammates were thrown under the bus, not just Scottie Pippen. There was a huge controversy about MJ laughing at his team being called a traveling cocaine circus.
The articles I read, they called it the Bulls traveling cocaine circus.
Jordan said that Horace Grant was the source in Sam Smith's book, The Jordan Rules. That made him so mad, he went on a radio show and called Jordan a snitch for calling out his own teammates doing drugs. The point is, though, that we all love Michael Jordan and we wanted to see a film about his greatness. If a more real film was made without Jordan involved, would we have really wanted to see that? Probably not. So The Last Dance was never going to make Jordan look bad, but Scottie Pippen wasn't the only one. At the end of the day, though, he did let down the Bulls and Michael Jordan several times in his career, and with The Last Dance, Jordan got the last word. The really crazy thing here is that Pippen would be shocked. I mean, if there's one thing we learned about Jordan, is if anyone gets in his way, he will take them down, even his own teammates. So The Last Dance was Jordan's way of holding Pippen accountable for all the mistakes he made as a Chicago Bull. After seeing the movie, it's not a surprise at all that Jordan still hangs on to that stuff. It is a surprise, though, that Pippen, who knows him so well, didn't see that coming. Let's hope, though, that The Last Dance didn't ruin permanently the relationship between Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. Now, it sounds like they talked it out and MJ said all the right things. But the bottom line is, despite all the details, the big picture is they were the two most important players to the greatest modern NBA dynasty. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.